And hello, welcome to Geek Speak 2.0 for Monday. Fuck. What was the date? Hello and welcome to Geek Speak 2.0 for Monday the 28th of March 2016. I'm your host, Chris Pedron. Now, first bit of news we have is that the PlayStation exclusive comic book adaptation series Powers has gotten a trailer for its second season. Now, this trailer shows that the story will be continuing off from its previous endpoint and going forward with the after effects of this string of powered murders. This is shown with the public losing faith in how safe they are from, under the protection of powers, with the government now outlawing the use of powers and kind of setting up a fight similar to the Marvel Civil War storyline, but more with powered people and their supporters against unpowered people, or basically the powered detractors and the government. And as with the previous season, this is a much darker take on the superhero genre, showing that heroes are not paragons of virtue just because they have powers and they help people. Shows a lot of the marketing side and the publicity side, and it is very dark, very gritty, and it's definitely not for kids. It's definitely one of those series that is very dark and brutal and something you should not watch if you are under 15 years of age. Despite it being based on a comic, the comic itself was actually a M15 content style comic, as it had very brutal depictions of violence and, blood and gore. Now, our second piece of news is that the Lego Batman movie, which is not to be confused with the Lego Batman 2 the movie, has gotten a trailer. And this trailer is, I'll be frank, it's not that exciting, except that it does show that this is based on, not so much on a Lego version of Batman, but on the character of Lego Batman from the smash hit The Lego Movie. And if you've seen that, you'll know that this Batman only works in black and very, very dark grey bricks, and is very much a comedic character, as he is not as skilled or as suave as the real Batman, but he does make for some very comedic elements, and this will be focused in, Lego Gotham, and some of the big changes that are going around or occurring there that he needs to adapt to. And our last bit of short topic news, I guess, is that Chris Pratt has started on a short video that is basically giving the fans a quick tour of the set of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which, judging by the fact that he's able to do this on-set video now, means that they've probably at least wrapped primary filming. We don't really know if they'll have pickups or anything extra later that they'll need to come back and refilm, but it does show that they're at least moving on probably into the more graphical CGI adding stage and post-production, and they're definitely on course for their May 5th release date of next year, not this year obviously. That's all the short news we have. Now I'd like to spend a little bit longer on the topic of the DC Comics company's Rebirth event. Now, a lot of you may be thinking, oh, it's named Rebirth. This is another reboot like they did with the Crisis on Infinite Worlds and the Infinite Crisis, and then they did with New 52, where they basically rewrote the universe again. And from what we've read and what we've seen, I'm happy to be able to say that's not the case. This is them wrapping up all of the storylines from the New 52 so that they can move into basically an ongoing cohesive universe. And I'm hoping from some of the titles that they're starting up that this means that they're not going to be running multiples of the particular titles, just that they're going to be running like a special one-off issue for the Rebirth event and then continuing with the normal storyline events. Now, with the fact that this is wrapping up a lot of storylines, on May 25th they'll be starting this transition, and they'll be starting by closing off or ending a number of the series that they have in production. And after this May 25th start-off point, the last issues will be published of the following comics and their which number those issues will be. And they are Justice League numbers 52 and 51, Justice League of America 12, Bloodlines 3, Cyborg number 12, Constantine the Hellblazer 13, Earth 2 Society 13, Deathstroke 19, Dr. Fate 13, Red Hood and Arsenal 13, Legends of Tomorrow 4, Swamp Thing 6, New Suicide Squad 21, Suicide Squad's Most Wanted, Deadshot/Katana 6, Teen Titans 21 and Batman Superman 33, Superman/Wonder Woman 30, Superman The Coming of the Superman 5, and the next three will all come with variant covers, and they are Harley Quinn 29, Harley's Little Black Book number 4, and Harley and Her Gang of Harleys number 3. And then we'll also have, ending up, Poison Ivy, Cycle of Life and Death number 6, Robin, Son of Batman number 13, and Green Lantern Corps Edge of Oblivion number 6. Now, that's quite a list of comics, and for those of you who are interested in these stories and are thinking that that might be them, like, cutting off a lot of stuff, what they're trying to do is kind of, instead of having 30 or 40 odd titles running at the same time, they're trying to compress it down into more characters in less titles to help increase fan growth, help them get interest, learn who the characters are, and basically draw in new fans who might not know as much about the universe now that they're going into the cinematic universe with the recent release of Batman vs. Superman, not to mention the slew of live-action TV shows they've got, such as Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow. Now, that being said, on roughly June 5th, they're starting a handful of new titles, which will be Superman Rebirth and Superman, both issue 1, Action Comics issues 957 and 958, Batman Rebirth number 1 and Batman number 1. Obviously, from this point on, if it's a number 1, I won't state that it's number 1, I'll just state its name. Then we have Detective Comics, issues 934 and 935. Then we have Aquaman Rebirth, Aquaman, Flash Rebirth, Flash, Green Lantern's Rebirth, Green Lantern, Green Arrow Rebirth, Green Arrow, Wonder Woman Rebirth, Wonder Woman, and Teen Titans Rebirth. Now, what I am hoping, as I said earlier, is that these Rebirth titles are a one-off to explain the change from the previous titles that came out before the 5th to the new storylines that they'll be introducing. And I'm hoping that as their site actually had them listed, the Rebirth title, then the issue title, that the Rebirths will simply be a special issue and not an ongoing series separate to the standard title. Okay, so if you're looking for any of them, I'm sure your local comic store will be able to order them in or hold them for you. Otherwise, I'm guessing your best bet is a newsagent. They might be able to special order something in for you. Okay, on a bit more DC news, with the cinematic universe having now kicked off with Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, we've also recently gotten our first look at the Wonder Woman standalone movie, with a poster being released that shows Wonder Woman's immediate family of Queen Hippolyta, General Antiope, and Menalape, or Menalape. I really apologise, I've probably completely slaughtered those names, but honestly, Greek and Macedonian pronunciation is not my forte. This, from what we've heard of this movie, it is set to, well, it's going to have a different tone, and it is actually set in a different time period to BVS Dawn of Justice. It's set in World War II, when Diana is much younger, much more naive, and hasn't yet learned all of the intricacies of male society and man in general, as she has grown her, or spent her whole life up to that point on the Isle of the Amazons in Themyscira. Again, apologies if I mispronounced that. This will be basically her origin story. It's how she developed into the more confident, more world-weary, or more world-wise Diana Prince that we saw in BVS. Now, one thing that's also arisen with the release of this poster is, again, internet's been in uproar over lack of diversity. Now, the director herself has come out and said, yes, this poster shows 4 primarily Caucasian women. That is not a statement on the characters of the movie. This is just the 4 people who are, well, the 3 people who are closest to Diana, as well as Diana herself. This doesn't show the cultural diversity that will be in the movie, as historically the ancient Greeks and other Mediterranean cultures had a mix of Caucasian, Asiatic, and African people. And while admittedly a lot of those non-Mediterraneans were considered slaves, there were those who freed slaves or slaves who earned their freedom. And quite frankly, the Amazon culture, as we've seen from the previous comics and other works involving Wonder Woman, did not believe in the concept of slavery. So if they came across any of these slaves, they would have freed them, and any women would have been accepted into the Amazonian culture. So I am hoping that they don't use this as just having like the occasional bit of cultural diversity in background characters and extras, but that they actually have a major character somewhere in there who is representative of that diversity, and hopefully not in just a token role, but in an actual important role. Again, remembering this is set in World War I, and let's be honest here, while we were in a state of war at that time, the entire world, we still weren't exactly what you would call a beacon of cultural equality. Not that we're much of one now. Okay. That's all I'm going to say on that topic. If you have any other comments on any of today's stories, drop them in the comments below or hit us up on our Facebook, which will also be linked below. If you want to have a chat, again, comments below, Facebook. We have a Twitter, which will also be linked below. If you would like to nominate any genre for us to do a recommendation of, or any media format, I have a pile of DVDs, I have a computer, games, basically novels, comics, games, movies, TV shows, you name it. You want a recommendation, we'll give it to you. On this note, or on that note rather, our recommendation for this week is Smallville. As we've spoken a lot about DC this episode, I figured it would be good to do one of the older DC television adaptations. And while Smallville is not considered comic canon due to its very different story structure and very different character development, it is a very interesting new take on the Superman origins. It does have the whole he's Kryptonian, all that sort of thing. It gives new properties to Kryptonite, and it changes a lot of the character's early interactions and his early development. Again, I will point out that this is a reimagining, not a retelling of the previous origin stories. It does have a lot of differences, with characters meeting him earlier than they should, with completely new characters and completely new relationships between many of those characters. That being said, it does have a lot of tie-ins, a lot of cameos with other characters that a comic fan would know, as well as being able to be an open doorway for those who don't yet know any of these characters. In my opinion, it's quite a good series, although some of the newer takes on some characters can be a bit grating for those of us who have watched, or basically who grew up with the classic Superman storylines. As you can probably tell, we're not quite up to a professional level with scripts or anything yet, but this is what I get for winging it. That's all I've got. Once again, comments, questions, recommendations, anything like that you want to leave with us, I'll pop it in the comments below, and we'll talk to you next week. Have a good week.